Hello again, my name is Dr. Bill Johnson. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Exploring Our Schools. As we've done in the past, we always try to highlight some of the fabulous opportunities that we have for theatrical presentations in the school district. So today what we're going to do is to focus on the middle school and their review in the fall every year, the musical review. I have three very, very special guests with me today to give us some insight into exactly what we can expect. And we'll start with Dr. Brian Zuar, who's the director of, well, today you'll be the director of performing arts and theater. Right. Many hats you wear, but today you're the theatrical. All right. Noah Feigenbaum, thank you very much, an 8th grader and a performer. All right. Sophia Swain, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to start with Dr. Zuar, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about what our intent is. What do we try to accomplish with this review in the fall, and why is it so special?
Sure. First of all, the review in the fall is different than the musical in the spring in that each student, the director, Mrs. Yates, develops a series of songs and scenes around a theme. This year's theme is called Someone, so it's about relationships and falling in love and having a crush on someone. And,
which never happens in 8th grade.
Oh, no.
No.
And so she develops a show around a theme, and she tailor-makes it so that she knows the students that she has, and this song would be good for this kid, and this would be good for that kid. So there's no real star of the show, but every kid is featured. And of course, there are also group numbers, usually beginning, middle, or end, or all three. You know, there are big cast numbers, but every kid gets to shine in a way that's different than when you do a standard book musical where you have 2 or 3 or 4 leads and then everybody else is the chorus. You know, this is where everybody gets a chance to shine in the fall review.
So we're going to go ladies first. So tell me a little bit about your history and how did you manage to get to singing on stage?
So I've been in like chorus and stuff since I was like in like 3rd grade in my school. And I've always related a lot to music, especially like certain musicals. Like I can always listen to like Hamilton whenever I'm trying to like get motivated, and I can always listen to like Chicago whenever I'm trying to get like, I don't know. It's just music has always been a really important part in my life, especially my dad. He always kind of he's instilled music on me ever since I was in like diapers. So I've always related very much to music and musicals and that kind of stuff.
It goes beyond that, though. You have a voice. Where did that come from? Where did you discover that?
I don't really know. I feel like the first time I was like, oh wait, I think I can actually sing was in my 4th grade chorus concert when we were doing the scales to warm up. My chorus teacher looked at me and she was like, you're really good at singing. And I was like, I'm in 4th grade. What do you mean? I'm not that good at singing. And ever since then, I've kind of felt like a new kind of confidence for singing and a new kind of like if I put my mind to it, I can do whatever I want.
There's a little bit of us discovering you and you discovering yourself at the same time, right?
Yeah.
In 4th grade it started, right? Have you ever taken voice lessons?
No.
No, really, it's all on your own.
I guess so.
Yeah. So tell me, what are you going to be singing?
I'm going to be singing Oh My God, You Guys from Legally Blonde, and my solo, I'm kind of like a control freak in my solo, and that relates a lot to real life. I'm kind of a perfectionist. I need everything to be done the way I want it to be done, and if it's not, I like go crazy. And my character kind of like snaps at the other characters for not being quiet when they should be, kind of like backstage when kids aren't being quiet. So it's kind of like I can relate a lot to my character.
So tell me a little bit about practice. I mean, how do you really get to be proficient at singing on stage in front of an audience?
What I do is, so when the lights are glaring on you, you cannot see the audience unless you want to like strain your eyes. So what I do is I kind of look like a little bit above everyone's head, so I'm not looking at anybody, but I'm kind of just like acknowledging that the audience is there, especially acting to the audience. I just like point randomly where people are sitting and like, oh, you know, maybe this person thinks I'm pointing at them, which is kind of like the whole point. So it's kind of like blinders. That's kind of what the lights do to you on stage. You don't get to see the audience, but the audience knows that you're acting to them.
They do. They can see you very clearly, right?
I hope so.
In the bright lights. Yes, they can. Do you practice a lot at home?
Yeah. It kind of gets to the point where it's at like 10:30 at night, and I'm like belting my solo, and my stepsisters will run into my room and tell me to be quiet. And she's very honest when I'm singing off key, and I sing a lot at home. My dad has like the studio in his basement with like mics and like this like DJ booth type thing, so I always like practice my solo in there, and he kind of like judges me on that. And I usually, for lines especially, I kind of like write them down in class. Like if my teacher's talking and I'm kind of like falling asleep, I'm like, I'm gonna write down my lines so I can like remember them.
Good. Your turn, Noah.
That's good.
When did you start?
It really kicked off when I was maybe 4 years old, and my mom put me in this thing with my cousin.
Oh my goodness,
called,
4 years? Well, we
Well-
go from 4th grade to 4 years? Holy
well, it was
smokes.
4 years. 4 years old. I did a thing called Time to Shine with my cousin, and the teacher was really mean, so I stopped doing it. And 6th grade comes around, and my mom says, "Why don't you do the drama club? You can't do sports yet," because that whole time I was planning on doing sports in 7th and 8th grade. But my mom said, "Why don't you do drama for the sixth grade shows? And if you don't like if you don't like it, you can do sports. And if you like it, maybe you could consider." So I did it, and I loved it.
Wow.
And I kept going and going and going. And now I'm on my 5th show, and I'm still doing it.
So where did you discover your voice? I mean, you know, it's one thing for your mom to say, "Noah, come on, why don't you do something?"
Yeah.
It's another thing to say, "Oh my goodness, I actually have a voice."
So my aunt was a professional singer. She worked with a record label, and then she helped to make the labels for other singers.
So it's in your blood.
Yeah,
huh?
it's in my blood. My great-grandparents were musicians in the Boston Pops.
Oh, wow.
They were, and then my mom and on my mom's side of the family, they were always very musical and very music-based family. So my mom wanted me to do the talent show one day, and in kindergarten, and I said, "Why don't I sing?" And I sang "America the Beautiful." I don't know, my kindergartner self just thought of that random song and was like, bam, let's do it. And apparently I did really good, and my mom's like, "You have to keep doing this." So I said, okay, and I kept doing it, and I worked and I worked and I worked, and all of a sudden I had this amazing voice.
Wow. You know, you said one of those magic words that are associated with real success. I worked, and I worked. Do you still do that? You
Still
practice
do.
at home?
I do.
Now, what song are you singing?
I'm singing "Never Getting Rid of Me" from Waitress, which is a song about this guy who has a crush on this one girl, and the girl just wants him to, the guy will never give up, which is one of the things my dad tells me all the time. You don't give up on what you want until you get it.
Okay.
And it's about this guy who loves this girl so much that he will never, never stop loving her. And the girl's like, "Just stop, please." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to stop."
Now, do you put a lot of this expression into your singing when you're on stage?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah.
That's the fun part. No expression that's boring. That's boring. Put your
No, it's
expression
not.
in, then it's fun.
So, you know, we have an opportunity to provide not just these two, but others as well. How many do we actually have performing?
This cast has 66
Holy
members.
smokes.
And there's about a dozen members of the crew. So, you know, between cast and crew, it's like almost 80 kids involved in the production. This is a bigger typically the fall review has 40, maybe 50 kids in it. Sometimes in the spring we get a bigger cast, but this is a huge cast for a fall review. And the list of songs, I was looking at the list of songs, it's quite lengthy. You know, I mean, the whole show runs about an hour and 10, right? An hour and 5, an hour and 10.
Yeah.
Without an intermission, but it's quite a variety, you know, of songs and the shows that are represented, from Young Frankenstein to Hamilton to Waitress to Dear Evan Hansen. I mean, every conceivable, the most happy fella back from the 50s, you know, every conceivable genre and style of music, again, to fit, you know, the talent that we have. So it's really exciting. The other thing that I find, and the kids may want to talk about it, you started to allude to it, both of you, is how music touches their lives, you know, and the emotional impact that music has on them and how they communicate that and then form friendships and bonds within the cast. You know?
Yeah, I always I'm fascinated with how, when you talk about athletics, we very often, there's no I in team. Yet what we don't always understand is that putting on a theatrical production is really a team effort. So you're not alone on the stage, are you? So,
Definitely not.
but what about, who's your partner?
Well, what I
partners?
love about my solo is I don't have a crush. I'm more of like I have to get this done for other people, which is like kind of the person I am. I'm not like I'm gonna go flirt with a boy. I'm like I'm gonna finish my algebra project so I don't fail. I'm never the kind of person that's like, I'm in love. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's super like starstruck by, attraction with someone else. I'm more of I prefer to get what I need to get done instead of I'm gonna be ditzy and do, what I want. So my character doesn't get a significant other, which I'm really happy because I think it's going to be awkward to like randomly flirt with someone on stage. So I'm just happy that my character doesn't get a significant other.
But you do.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yes, and you're never going to give up.
According to this, I never give up until 2 songs later, where another girl who takes the sugar that I was tasting, she moves it over to me, and all of a sudden she starts flirting with me and flirting with me and flirting with me, and I give in.
Uh-oh. You give in.
I give in. I don't have the willpower to say no.
But what's interesting is that you've got to connect with these people on stage.
You do.
And same with you. I mean, there are other people on the stage. How do you go about doing that? I mean, you're not alone. I mean, you talk about the lights and everything else like that, and you're talking to the audience. But actually, what makes theater so wonderful is that you see people connecting to one another. Do you feel it? I mean, how do you develop that with the other people?
So what you do is you will kind of like you have to bond and make friendship. Like, you can't be mean to them off stage because then it's gonna make it harder to shift it onto stage.
Right.
So if you're friendly with them, it will be much easier to maybe make a bond
Absolutely.
and bond together with them and play along with the line that it'll be going.
Hey, that's a lesson to be learned in athletics, in work, in every single aspect of your life as an adult growing up. An incredible lesson to be learned, am I right? So let's talk about the emotion. I mean, I just saw you a few minutes ago. You were emoting a lot.
Yeah.
So you put that a lot into your position. Talking about what Dr. Zua was saying, music does get inside of you, right? And there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah,
Right.
especially on stage.
Just not words.
Yeah.
When you're even at home, there's feelings that are behind it.
Yeah, what I do, especially when I go on stage, is, so during You Will Be Found, it's a very emotional number for me because there was a time in my life where I did feel alone and I did feel very, very scared and afraid. But actually through drama, I was like, there's a lot of really cool people out there, and there's a lot of people that I can talk to, that I can get to know on a more personal level, and there's people that understand me and what I'm going through. So that's why I kind of like always tear up during You Will Be Found. I hate to admit it, but I do. But also during every opening and closing number in any show I've ever done, during the nights that we're actually performing it to other people, I start crying.
Oh my goodness.
Music makes me very emotional, but it's also everyone in the cast working together to do a certain goal, and everybody kind of just like being there for each other. Like, let's say you want to run lines with someone, or let's say you're really, really like conflicted with your solo and you don't know what to do. There's always somebody there to help you, which is kind of what always floods over me during like performances and stuff.
Wow, yeah, that is so true, and I guess that's what you were just talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm often at the cast party when it's all over, and
It's so
many people
emotional.
are crying. They're all emotional because this family that they formed for, 8 or 12 weeks, it's over. And then people feel sad, but they're happy with their friendships. The other thing you hear at the cast party, they have all these testimonials about the friendships they formed. So in one sense, the show's over, but the friendships go on. I was telling the kids in the car, people that I was in high school with, that I was in plays with, are still my friends to this day. I won't tell you how many years later, but it's a lot of years later. And my wife was someone I met doing a show. So you form friendships and bonds.
It's so interesting to say that because, a lesson to be learned about even just following up on what you guys were just saying. These friendships and connections that you make right now, it's repeated over and over again by students who come back to us from college or even as young adults, or move back to the community, who talk about the experiences they had. They never forget it, and they don't forget the people that they were on stage with. So interesting that both of you have just kind of connected with that. You know, the other thing about emotion, and maybe either of you could, is that it does allow you, sometimes music, to connect to something that happened in the past, and you can bring up those emotions to help you become a different person on stage. That was remarkable what you were just saying a few
Thank
minutes
you.
ago. Yeah. How about you with emotion? I mean, you know, when you just talk about, I'm going to chase this girl forever, oh my God, there's a lot of emotion behind that.
Yes, there is. Really, the emotion comes from maybe something else that happens that day. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I'll take that bad day and put it into the song, and that's where I get the emotion from. The bad day gets me all this, sometimes anger, sometimes sadness. I mush together, and I get this giant bundle of emotion for this one girl. And for my character, he's also very quirky. So he's a cat person. He's like a obsessed with cats. So you have to jumble up all the emotion, smush it together, put it into your body, and then let it all out on stage. And that's how I get it.
Both of you are able to, I mean, good, nice. Right? Even here, I can just feel it right now. So, listen, before we forget, when is this going to happen?
Friday, November 8th.
Go ahead.
And Saturday, the 9th. But Friday is an afternoon performance,
Right.
so 4:30 in the afternoon, which is great for grandmas and grandpas maybe who don't want to drive at night. You know, they want to come out in the afternoon, or even on
it's
Friday
packed.
afternoon. Friday
I
afternoon,
will
we get a lot
tell
of
you, you play to a
teachers and
full
kids.
house.
Yeah. Teachers and kids come on Friday, too, because
Yes.
it's almost right after school. You know, and then Saturday night's a 7:30 show in the middle school auditorium, the 8th and the 9th of November.
8th and 9th,
Yep.
okay.
A
So that's
week
very
from-
good for everybody
week
to
from
know.
tomorrow.
1 week, right.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're on.
Well, tomorrow, we're doing it, but understand, this will go on Monday and Wednesday of next
Okay.
week, so we'll have plenty of
November 8th.
opportunity beforehand for us to be able to have others see what you and I are talking about today. So we're almost down to the end. Do you encourage others? I mean, when I think about where you guys came from and how you just, I guess, you just talked about work. If you want to work at it, do you think it's a good experience for other people to try?
I feel like it is, like, honestly such an amazing experience because you work and work and work doing something that you love so much, and then when it's over, you get to see the result of all of that work, and you have, like, a huge family to help you and to make sure that, like, you do what you're supposed to. And also, like, if you're confused on a line, they can help you, and it's like we all work together. It's not like the one person with the solo does all the work and everyone in the ensemble is like, I have no idea what we're doing. We all get to work together to make a beautiful, amazing performance that I love so, so much. That's my favorite part about theater.
It's a wonderful way to end this show, but I don't know if you want to add anything to that. My sense is what you were saying, you really need to connect also, right?
Yes, you have to connect
You recommend it for other people?
The show? Of
No,
course.
No, not the show, but I'm talking about performing.
Oh, of course, perform. It's what I love. It's something that will help you, maybe if you're having a bad day, it'll help you, well, as you can see, wash out all of that emotion so that you don't cry your eyes out in the middle of the night. And it's a great relief to be there.
More than just a relief, I look forward to it every year, I really do. I mean, it's a remarkable experience to watch the talent that we have develop over time. And someday we'll talk about the high school program here and how this prepares you really so well for what you can expect here at Southside High School. But nevertheless, Brian, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you very much.
Any last words?
No, just as I say to these guys, you said there's no I in team, but even the stars of the show have the guys on lights, the crew. They couldn't do without the microphones. There's all the behind the scenes. So just a shout out to the crew. You know, that's another great experience, is not only acting on stage, but being on stage crew,
Oh.
lighting crew, sound crew. They're
If there
all
was
great.
any underlying piece to the message that both of them delivered today, it was that we are a part of an experience that everybody shares. So thank you so much. This was terrific. Thank you very much for joining us. I certainly hope to see you at either, let me repeat that, Friday the 8th at 4 o'clock, or Saturday night the 9th, I believe it's at 7 o'clock?
7:30.
7:30. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.